We talk a lot about what makes a student successful, right? We think about great teachers, dedicated students, but what if there's this huge piece of the puzzle that we often forget about? Well, today we're going to dive into that powerful and honestly often underestimated partnership between home and school.
So let's just chew on this for a second. What if the single biggest thing holding a student back isn't happening in the classroom at all? What if it's in that space, that gray area between school and home? Okay, to really get why this connection matters so much, let's put ourselves in a kid's shoes. I mean, imagine trying to focus on math when you're dealing with something like anxiety. It's this silent battle, and the signs can be so subtle that we as adults can totally miss them. So check this out. Benoa State High School has this guide, and it points out something pretty wild. Anxiety can actually look like a physical sickness. A kid who always has a headache or a stomach ache, but the doctor can't find anything wrong, or they're just constantly fidgeting. That's not just them having a bad day. It's like their body is sounding an alarm. And then, of course, there's the emotional side. Suddenly, a kid is super grouchy or quick to anger, or they become absolutely terrified of making the tiniest mistake. They're in third grade and already worrying about what's going to happen in high school. It's a huge sign of that inner struggle that's so easy to miss. And all that inner stuff, well, it spills out into their actions. They're the kid who's always asking, but what if? They might start avoiding group activities or needing constant reassurance from the teacher. That classic, I can't do it. A lot of times, that's not about the work. It's about fear. You put it all together, the physical, the emotional, the behavioral, and you get a pretty clear picture of a kid who's really struggling. All right, so a teacher spots these signs. What's the next move? Well, the good news is schools are usually the first line of defense, and most have a plan ready to go. And it's not just guesswork, it's a real plan. Step 1, they identify the student who's struggling and get a support team involved. Step 2, they make actual changes in the classroom to help. And step 3, they look at the bigger picture of the whole school to make sure it's a supportive place for every student. And we're not just talking about vague ideas here. This is real, practical stuff. We're talking about things like timeout cards that give a student a chance to just take a breath, or maybe tweaking an assignment to take some of the pressure off. The school basically has a playbook for helping that student get through their day. So the school's got its plan in action. They have the tools. They're on it. But is it enough? Is it really enough on its own? And that question brings us right back to that critical gap between school and home. See, for any of this to really work, that support has to go beyond the school bell. You have to build a bridge to the student's home life. But man, that is often where things get tricky. So let's talk about why. What's getting in the way? Okay, so some research from Parent Pay really breaks this down. And you'll probably recognize some of these. Lack of time? That's a huge one, right? But it's also things like cultural differences or language barriers. Maybe a parent had a really bad experience when they were in school. Even something as simple as not having reliable internet can build a wall where you desperately need a bridge. I mean, just think about it for a second. You got a parent working 2 jobs with a schedule that just doesn't line up with school hours. A parent-teacher conference is practically impossible. Or what about a parent who felt like a failure in school? Walking back into one can be incredibly intimidating. The key thing here is that this isn't about parents not caring. These are real-life hurdles that just create distance. So why are we talking so much about knocking down these walls? Because it's not just a nice little bonus. It's everything. The research is crystal clear. When home and school are on the same page, it's like you found the secret blueprint for helping a kid succeed. In fact, a study from the NIH said it perfectly. When parents and teachers get in sync, it doesn't just help a bit, it can actually optimize the support a child gets. It helps them learn new skills way faster. It all comes down to one word: consistency. Okay, so how in sync are we really? Well, that same study dug into it. They found that if a parent and a teacher were both using, say, 5 different strategies to help a kid, on average, only about 3.5 of them were the same. That's a pretty big disconnect. They're not even working from the same playbook. So what makes the difference? What helps get everyone on the same page? Well, for parents, a few things matter, like seeing themselves as a true partner with the school. But here's the kicker. Look at the one thing that pops up for both sides. For teachers and for parents, what's the magic ingredient? Communication. For teachers, it's talking about how to solve problems. For parents, it's just talking to the teacher, period. It really all just boils down to communication.
Okay, so the solution starts to become pretty obvious, right? We have to stop this thing where parents are over here and teachers are over there, both working in their own little worlds. We have to bring them together to create one powerful support team for that student.
And this isn't just a nice idea. There's actually a professional term for it. A guide from Missouri calls it consultation. And that's exactly what it is, a collaboration between everyone, the counselors, the parents, the teachers, the administrators. Everybody gets together with one single mission, to empower each other to help that student. So really, the whole point is to create this one unified team. Just picture it, a huddle, where you have the parent, the teacher, the counselor, and yeah, even the student themselves, all looking at the exact same playbook. Everybody knows the plays, everybody's working together. That is when you start to see amazing things happen.
And that really leaves us with one final big question, a question for all of us to really think about. In our own lives, with our own schools and families, are we building bridges or are we accidentally building walls? Because the answer to that question might just change everything for a student.